We're going to redo the video from class because I just deleted it. So I have Alcy and Katie helping me. So the goal, hello, yes, and hello. The goal that we talked about in class, and I'm going to move this over a little bit so we can get my tools. Here we go. In class we talked about this problem before we did it in groups. And so I'm just going to remind everybody that this is about factor pairs and rectangles. And we're going to be using square tiles like that to find factor pairs for each number. But the real goal today is to find all the factor pairs of 12. And then we want to create something called a rectangular model of each. And I know that model can mean a lot of things, but in math it means usually like a picture. So we're going to take 12. You guys want to help me? 1, 2. Can you pull those over really smooth? You have to push a little harder. 3. Here, watch. 4. You're pushing too hard. 5. There we go. 6. Smooth. Okay, I'm going to have to do these. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You get better at it. Okay? So we have 12 chips. Thanks, girls. Little squeaky fingers. And we're going to make the first rectangular model that we talked about in class was a long, skinny one. Okay? See if you can move. There we go. Start moving those for me, or at least bring them over and I'll get them from that point. There you go. And only one hand can touch the board at a time. I think that I might have to move them and you can tell me what shapes to make. So we're going to make this long, skinny rectangle. You guys are silly, silly. And we call this, do you remember the dimensions this would be? Oh, I count them. Do I have 13? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. I made an extra. We don't want that. So we called this a 12 by, what do we call it? 12 by 1. A 12 by 1, right? And in
But no, it's a 1 by 12.
a 1 by 12, you know, I would say that as long as you're consistent, you could say it either way, but I think the way your book does it is they call that long skinny one a 12 by 1, and they call this one, when you tip it sideways, a 1 by 12. But you don't have to worry if you call this one up here a 12 by 1. You just want to make sure you would call this one a 1 by 12. Does that make sense? So it kind of depends. So the goal was to make a rectangular model for all the factor pairs of 12, right? So what are the factor pairs of 12? 1 by 12. What's another one?
2 times
2
3.
times.
Sorry, 4. 3 times 4.
What else?
3 times 4.
3 times 4. Those are all the factor pairs, and if we did the reversal, we would tip the rectangles to have a 4 by 3, or a 6 by 2, or a 12 by 1, right? Sometimes we don't want to write them all out if I just ask for the factors, but for the model, we're going to have both ways. So if I were going to make all of those, then they would just look like, I'm going to move that over, and I'm going to make 6 of these little squares move up there. Soon you guys will be experts and you'll be able to do that. So let's see. Hit group.
The marker.
Oh, wait, hit clone. Okay, I'll slide it. Alcy, hit group. Then I'll rotate it. And so this is a 6 by 2, and this would be a, you can write on it, 2 by So is that all of them? No, it's not, right? So now we have to do this again. Let's do my numbers. Let's do this. Move that over here. And we'll clone this one. So I'm basically taking out chips over and over, right? So, Alcy, what do I have to make now?
4 by 3.
Or either, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a 3 by 4. And then by, whoa, tip over, clone that one and group it. Let's see. Rotate it. Why don't you label that one for me, Alcy, as a,
4 by 3.
yeah, as a 4 by 3. Perfect.
Interesting, right?
It is, it feels weird. So here's the thing. I know in class, if I took my 12, I'd have to make it a little smaller now so we can see. Like if I took all of these again and cloned them, you know, I want you to see why those are all the models, because we see the list right here, but if I tried to go like by 5, would it make a rectangle? Not if I used them all, right? If I went by 5, it doesn't make a rectangle. And that's why it's not a factor pair. Factor pairs always have to make rectangles. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So this one doesn't work. Okay, so we're gonna cut that. All right? So you guys were supposed to do this. And I was gonna start this and have a sample so everybody at home could remember what we were supposed to do. So we were going to read investigation 1.4, but this is investigation 1.4, so we don't have to read it. We're going to talk about the rectangle models. So here's one. And so it says, in your group, discuss the rectangular model shown below for the number 15. So when you look at this, do you see only rectangles, or do you see any squares? Yeah, no square rectangles, right? How about here? Do you see any squares? We're going to be looking for those too. Okay? And so we are supposed to create, so we'll go to a bigger display here. We're supposed to create all possible models for the number 16. And remember, I kind of didn't make my chart big enough, but there's 17 little boxes here. So I did this. You guys are going to help me with the other ones. So this is, because this one's kind of boring, right? So this is that's a 1 by 15, so this is a 1 by 16. And then you're supposed to draw the other one, and I'm going to cheat a little bit. And this one, what I made a mistake on the worksheet, I said you might have to add a few squares of your own there. Yeah, because I wasn't paying attention when So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That's a 16 by 1. So, can I do one that's too wide? What do you think? You guys want to shade in like this is 2, 4. Go ahead and do that for me. You have 16 to shade in. 6.
10, 12, 14.
Okay, so that's a model, right? So this is what's the dimension? 8, right, by 2. And then Alcy, how about the other orientation? Like that way?
Yeah.
2. so that's gonna be a 8 by 2. So far, just more rectangles. Could we do 3? I did 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Doesn't make one, right? So I can't do by a 3 by anything. And you guys had those little chips to figure that out. What about a 4? 4, 8, 12, 16. So 4 works. What's this?
Square.
So guess what kind of number 16 is? It's a square number. Remember we talked about square numbers a little bit? But we talked about them a little bit different. This is the picture of a square number. But another way to think of a square number is if you can find that number 16 by multiplying the same number by itself. What is the same number by itself? Going to be 4, right? Because you can find 16 by multiplying the same number by itself. We call 16 a square number. So on the other side of that worksheet, you have, looks like a lot of things, but you actually just have to add 3 to 5 numbers to the examples or non-example charts. That's what I think you guys can do without me. And then everybody at home can just do this part themselves, because we put it in our comp book already. Okay, so like I'm going to do this one. I think this is a square number 16 because it makes a square, so that's my example. But when I looked at 15, it didn't make a square. There's no square here. So that's not a square number. So I'm going to put 15 there. What if I looked at 16 and 15? Could I put them in, where would you put those guys? Here, your turn. Are those prime? How many factors do prime numbers have?
1. Oh, so.
2. Composite. So both of them are composite. That's not right, yeah. You caught your mistake, huh? Good. I'll just erase it. Okay, so think of another square number.
9.
Yeah, 9's a square number, so why don't you write that down, Katie, or Alcy. And then Katie over here, just by coincidence, 9 was one of the ones we were supposed to do, right? So, you know, 1 by 9's kind of not so fun, not very exciting, right? I'll do the boring ones. So there's a 1 by 9. Would 2's work? 2, 4, 6, 8. Oops. Nope. So then we would have to go to what?
3.
Yeah, so why don't you draw that one in? What would that be? If you stand to the side, your shadow won't be in the way.
No.
I know. So there's 9 squares there, and it makes one big square, right? So we would say 9 is a square number. And this is called a 3 by 3.
So
And this was a 1 by 9.
all square numbers, like when you put them on the chart, they're squares.
Yeah, all square numbers, if you had the number of chips that match the number, like we would work with 9 chips here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 chips. If you could rearrange the chips to make a square, then it's a square number. That's a 9 by 1. Right? And remember, square numbers only have 3 or an odd number of factors. So, where would you put 9? Would you put it in composites? Yes. It's an example. Right? Is there a non-composite that's not even a prime? Yeah. Right? One's not composite, but it's not prime. That's why I made 2 charts there. You guys want to fill in a couple more of those? You could do prime numbers just probably thinking about your homework last night, and then we'll stop this. Yeah. Yeah, choose the only even prime. Right. Speak maybe a little louder so that microphone hears you.
There's 7.
Right, 7's an example of a prime.
And then 15.
Right, 15's not a prime. Okay? So you only have to put 3 to 5 numbers in each one. Okay, so how would you describe a square number in your own words? Maybe think about it before you write it down. What makes a square number to you? Like 15's not a square number, right? I should put a T in there. Not. No square. But 16 and 9 were square. This is going to be 17. Would you say 17 is a square number? No, right? Because 17 is going to be like this, right? Super long.
It only has 2 factors.
So what's 17? Prime. Oh, that makes my life so easy, right? Because I only have to do 2. I can't really get a lot of rectangles, right? So 17 is going to be, yeah, I got to fix my grids next time so there's more space. We'll just put it down here like I told you guys. You could just draw it in. You'll have to fill those in. So where would you put 17 on that chart then? You would put it in the prime numbers, right? And as an example, how about down here? Is it composite or is it, no, so you put it in the non-examples, right?
So when we put in the examples.
All the primes would go here plus the 1, because 1 doesn't belong up in the prime. We could put 1 here.
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of like a special case, right? That's kind of a special case, right? So how are you going to remember if you have a square number? What makes it easy for you? The picture or like looking at the factor pairs or both? Both?
Yeah.
Okay. Good job, girls. Shall we post it?